you all. Okay, moving on to the next question. Where is it? There we go. Okay. You have had a hard time lately with losing your grandmother. How do you find support for yourself during hard times? Did you feel supported by your community? What a great question, and thank you for asking this question. As I've said before, the name of the Q&A is Ask Me Anything. Genuinely, you can ask me anything you want. I rarely get personal questions. Not that I love talking about myself, but I think it humanizes. Answering questions humanizes me in a way that will help people do their development more, because the fact is that I am just a person, and we all need support, especially at times of struggle. Now, I don't want to kind of get into how difficult it has been, because it has been difficult. Not just, my grandmother was 93, was going to be 93 in February, so she had good innings. Obviously, she's a matriarch of our family, and somebody that I've always looked up to, and the loss was difficult, and supporting my mother through her loss was very difficult, and continues to be challenging. But just to give you a little bit of background in terms of where I am and why I'm where I am, is last year and the year before I had PTSD. So I had acute PTSD for about 3 months, and then low-grade depression / recovery period for about a year after that. And then on top of that, I've had 4 significant losses this year alone. 2 of my best horsey friends, and people who have animals understand what I'm talking about. If you don't have animals and you can't relate to what I'm going through, imagine losing your best friends that you're with every day, and secondly, making a decision to have to euthanize one of them because of the situation and the facts of the matter. And then on top of that, losing my grandmother, and another friend of mine, Janine, who was only 50, died of stroke on the same week as my grandmother passed away. So, and currently we are battling bushfires, severe bushfires in the east coast of Australia. We have 5 or 6, I haven't looked at the update since I started this video, but 5 or 6 out of control fires within 10 kilometers of our house. We may have to evacuate. So these are very, very stressful times. And I gotta say, thank heavens for the 4 people within work. Thank heavens for the inner parenting work, because I don't believe I would be standing upright if it wasn't for that work, and if it wasn't for the application of that work. So I encourage all of you, not because I want to compare things with you. Everyone's challenges and everyone's pain is as important as anybody else's. But I would ask you to just stop for a moment and look at the issues that you have right now, and look at the 2.5 years nearly. It's actually a week from now, it'll be 2.5 years since all these challenges started for me, these full-on challenges, and look at loss, and look at possible loss of life, because we might lose our home. It's just a matter of time before the fire gets here. Whether it's manageable at that stage, that's really the question. So we are under threat of losing our own lives if we get trapped, the lives of our family, our pets. We might lose our home. So when you're having a small annoyance with somebody, think about how big it actually is in comparison to how bad things could be for you right now. And so I would like to challenge you to do that, because I gotta say, it's been a real eye-opener for me to look at my own challenges and see what is actually and what isn't actually really that big a deal. Personally, I'm not saying your situation is not a big deal, what you're going through right now. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that something that really has helped me through this 2.5 years has been putting things into perspective, saying, you know what, this could be a lot worse. And it's given me this power to kind of soldier on, as well as obviously the inner parenting work that that I've been doing. Your question was, how do you find support for yourself during hard times? I find it challenging because people see that I'm a strong person, which I am. I'm a strong person. And they don't believe that they have anything to offer me. And so your question is, how do you find support for yourself during hard times? I actually have to ask for support, which is a very lonely space, especially when you are truly struggling and maybe even fighting for your life. And so, especially for us INFJs and INFPs, we take great pride in the fact that we hold space for other people. And something that was really highly highlighted for me throughout this time has been the sense of loneliness in my struggle, and the sense of a lot of people talk about holding space for others but don't actually do it. So especially with us INF types, I have a lot of INF types in my world, and for whatever reason, whether it's people don't think I need help, whether, you know, they don't want to bother me, whatever, I haven't actually experienced a lot outside of my immediate circle. I haven't experienced much of that space holding from a lot of INF types. And it's been surprising to me. So it's highlighted to me how maybe I need to talk more about this. Maybe that's the problem. Like, how am I contributing to this sense of lack of support and space holding from my community? So your question was, did you feel supported by your community? I felt extremely supported by my immediate people, my partner, my mentors, my team. But outside of that, it's just been a couple of friends. Very few clients have sent me anything. They've been aware of what's happening. And yeah, it's been feeling pretty lonely. We are all people, no matter where we are on our journey. You know, I've had to confront a few people and just say, hey, do you realize how big, like, what's been going on in my life? And they kind of say, well, I didn't want to bother you. But, you know, asking somebody, hey, what do you need? Is there anything I can offer you? That doesn't bother a person, because if they're bothered by it, they can just ignore it. But if they don't know that you're rallying around them and you're supporting them, then it'll just, you know, not getting those messages will make you feel very lonely. And I bet there are people, and I know that there are, because I've been supporting personally and through our work as well, supporting a lot of you on this, particularly this forum, on your struggles, that, you know, it is lonely. I know you know that it's lonely. And as I said, another thing that people have said is, you know, but you're so strong, you have everything together, you have all the tools. Yes, that is true, but we all still need human connection. You know, a lot of people choose to end their lives because they don't feel like there's a way out. And whilst I thankfully haven't come close to that point, because I've known that there's always a way out, like, I know how fortunate I am to know that. And knowing that there are a lot of people who don't know that, and they end up taking their lives, I can see why. You know, we're so isolated, we're so alone. Yeah. So I would like to call especially INF people who take great pride in holding space for other people to become maybe a little bit less involved in their own process on a day-to-day basis. And if they see that somebody's going through something significant or they're struggling, just to reach out and say, hey, is there anything I can do for you? I can tell you that would have made a big difference for me. And I know that this may be an uncomfortable thing to hear, and it certainly is not a comfortable thing to talk about, but it is authentically, that was my experience. So Anonymous, thank you for asking that question. I'm grateful for you to offer me this space to talk about this. And anybody tuning in, if you feel, this is not about shaming you or to think that, your things don't matter. This is more about, this was a question addressed to me, and I was speaking from my perspective of the sense of loneliness I was experiencing throughout this time. So everybody needs support, no matter how accomplished you are, no matter where you are, no matter who you are. We're still all people. None of us ever ascend. None of us ever, finish being, finish growing. All of us do. We will, all of us make mistakes for all of our lives. We're never done. And that is the beauty of life in a way. So yeah, thank you for asking that question. And I'm just going to scroll into our feed here.